What's going on, everybody? It's Xwing. I am so excited. Today is a wonderful day. We have a very special guest, someone near and dear to my heart. Been a fan for a little minute. He doesn't need to know that. Don't tell him when he comes in here. But we do have a gentleman who has spent a lot of time in the Star Wars universe. He is a squid head, just like us. Another sweaty, another fan of the Star Wars universe. Without any further ado, I'm going to bring in the man himself. Well, hello there.
Nice to be aboard.
Yeah, how you doing, man? I'm so excited that you're here, man. We're honestly I think we're all a little humbled. We're all pretty pumped. We're excited that you're here to talk to us about some Star Wars, man. The chat is going absolutely insane right now, just having you in here. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. It's one of my favorite things to do is to do cons, because you get to meet, people with like-minded, they've got the same mindset. You don't have to explain anything. They get it first time. So cons and podcasts, love doing that.
I mean, look, you're among friends, right? Anytime you do this, you're among people. You're safe to be the squiddy, sweaty man that you are when it comes to Star Wars. So there are about 1,000 things that I want to talk to you about tonight. Okay. You've told the story probably 1,000 times of how you became Boba Fett, and you don't want to tell it again, but I'm going to make you do it anyway. We all want to hear it again. But really, before we do any of that stuff, we all have a Star Wars kind of story, how we got involved in it, where we were when we first learned about it. I'm kind of interested to hear what's your story. How'd you get involved with Star Wars?
The very first?
Oh, I'm talking about like child aged. What got you into Star Wars?
Yeah, I wasn't even watching TV. My parents were, and a show came on. It was a quiz show, and in the quiz show, one of the segments is where they show a clip of a movie. Usually, it's a movie that's coming out or a movie that's current, and they ask the contestants questions about what they just asked, and it's like a memory.
Gotcha.
It's how well they observed and what they remember. And so this clip came on, and it was the Millennium Falcon being pulled into the Death Star by the tractor beam. That whole being, there's everything, and the Death Star, and it's like magnificence, and how the size of the Millennium Falcon tiny against this huge great battle station. So
it's shocking.
Was the first thing I saw. And I had eyes as big as saucers. They were just like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I always was huge into sci-fi. Always loved sci-fi, always loved mythology. I was big into westerns, spaghetti westerns. So when I saw this, all my sci-fi kind of bells started ringing, and I wanted to know more. Like, what is this? I have to see this. What is this? And found out it was called Star Wars, and it was coming out in a month or so's time. And that's when I was hooked, absolutely hooked.
Yeah, and it was really something that kind of changed the landscape of sci-fi forever. It hadn't been done yet, especially not to that scale, that size, that ambition. George just completely changed the game with the original trilogy. And, that's something interesting I always think about when I'm thinking about the Specialized, obviously, compared to the original one that he did. And I think a lot of people say that the Specialized edition, well, that's not the true Star Wars, because you're not watching the first iteration of it. But I would almost argue that I will argue that the Specialized edition is way more George Lucas than the original was, because after 9 years of films, and God knows how many more years attached on the back and the front of that he was actually making them, he still wasn't happy with them. After he changed it completely, he still wasn't happy and had to come back and change it more. Yeah,
well, I mean, I love the original trilogy as it was, the same as everybody else, and I didn't even know they were going to make a special edition. There was always rumors going around ILM, about the prequels coming up, or the sequels.
Right.
What's he going to do? And rumors were flying, and none of them ever came true. So I just thought that this. I heard a rumor that he was going to do a remake of New Hope, and only New Hope as well. Only New Hope.
Right.
And I was like, I thought it was just another rumor. Didn't believe it. And
this would have been like 1993, 1992?
This is 94.
94. Okay.
Yeah, I started January of 94 working on Casper at ILM. And during that working on Casper, there was always rumors flying around. And you never knew which ones were going to land, which ones were like just kind of hearsay. But hearing rumors at ILM, you give it a lot more gravity than you do outside of ILM.
Yeah. And this was rumors before we were all talking about it on the internet, kind of rumors.
Yeah. Well, 94, the internet was a thing, but we had no access to it.
Right.
Like ILM,
it wasn't like this.
No. ILM had no internet access. They didn't want any leakage. They didn't want any contact with the outside world, anything. They were fed up with people going down their dumpsters looking for the latex gloves and stuff like that.
Right. So, yeah. Checking for fingerprints. George was here.
Any trash, a piece of trash could be, a part of the Millennium Falcon as far as, fans are concerned.
Yeah, very true.
So they had a lot of people going down their dumpsters and causing lots of trouble. So, I didn't know that it was ever going to happen. Everyone thinks that the blue screen shoot was part of a New Hope special edition, and it wasn't. The blue screen shoot happened 6 months before I got to work on a special edition.
Oh, okay. So anybody that doesn't know, the blue screen shoot is that it's the hangar bay shot where you see Boba hanging out with Han and everybody there. That was the blue screen shoot. Which there are some things I want to talk to you about. I'm excited to talk about a couple things there because you can dive, like any good sweaty in Star Wars, you can dive into frame by frame by frame by frame about what happened there. So there's some stuff I want to talk to you about that. But something else that kind of, I was watching an interview. Don't call me creepy. I was checking out some stuff, listening to you talk to some people. Being able to watch those movies and then come back. And I know you were a huge Boba Fett fan because your desk, not unlike mine, was littered with Boba Fett things. What was it like? Yeah, I mean, coming back and doing that, did you get to go to the ranch beforehand? Did you ever get to try it on? I mean, how did you really get involved with that?
You talk about the Boba Fett suit, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Boba, well... It was all to do with this one big coincidence. I was working for 5 years in commercials doing drawn animation. I didn't know the computer at all. ILM taught me everything I know about the computer, but I was doing drawn animation. And while I was working in London, my boss's son-in-law came over, his stepson, came over from the States, and we met, and because he was more my age, we went out and had a night out on the town. And he left. I knew he came from America. I didn't know what he did.
And that was it?
That was it. So maybe just under a year later, I landed a job with ILM, which is a whole story in itself.
I want to hear that one.
How many hours we got? And so
all of them.
I turn up to ILM. It's on the weekend before my first Monday I'm starting. And I'm playing pinball machine, Jurassic Park pinball, and I couldn't believe I could play pinball for free. They had a free pinball machine. And in walks this guy that I'd met a year ago. My ex-boss's stepson walks in to this room. It's no one's there because it's the weekend.
All right.
He walks in, and I'm, oh my God.
You're there playing pinball.
Pinball machine. Because they showed me where my desk was. I had to choose a login. I didn't know what that is. They showed me what email was.
Right.
It was. I was very naive when it came to the computer back then.
Different times.
Different time. It was. Yeah. This is back in. It's still optical kind of days. Just going into digital at this point. And so he was good friends with Don Bees. And I don't know if you know, but Don Bees runs
yes.
Lucas Archives. So when I saw him, he's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're working." You know, both of us were just mind blown. You're like, "How? What? Didn't I see you like a year ago?" He says, "I know Don Bees. I can get you into the archives if you want." And I'm like, "Oh my god! If you get me the archives, I just want to see anything, a piece of armor, just anything Boba Fett."
Yeah.
It's
You
just
bring your camera
something.
down there, just start taking pictures.
I did.
Yeah, okay.
There's
See.
a picture of me with the ILM t-shirt on, holding, looking at all the Boba Fett stuff, and that was the first encounter I had with the suit. I never ever dreamed when I was looking at it that I'd be wearing it one day. I just was there drooling over it, and drool just dripping on it.
A true fan. True fan.
Taking pictures. I got to sit in the land speeder. It was like amazing. I got to wear.
You're talking about the Luke's land speeder?
Luke's land speeder.
Oh, somebody else got excited about that too.
It's Wookiee. I got to put on Indiana Jones jacket and hat.
Really?
He'll come down at some of the doors, so you can tell it's live, you know.
Yeah. Nothing like live TV, right?
So that was the first time I ever saw the suit. Hope someone's going to. Can someone answer the door?
I love this. I love this, though. No, it's so real. It's so perfect.
Yeah.
Is your dog's name Wookiee?
His name's Wookiee, yeah.
My dog's name is Obi-Wan, so.
Come here. Oh, you don't upset Wookiee. Whatever you do.
What about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
Come here. Here he goes. You be nice. Come show your face.
Yeah, feel free to. Yeah, bring him in. Bring him in. Oh, well, hello there, Wookiee. What a cutie.
Yeah, so that was my first encounter with the suit, and I thought I was the luckiest Boba Fett fan alive just to be able to touch the suit. And
right. Now there was more than one suit, if I remember correctly. There were 7?
Yeah, when I asked, they said they had enough pieces to... Can I just look at 1 second?
Yeah, feel free. It's kind of awesome, right? I mean, come on. We're getting to hang out with Boba Fett in his house. Talk to his dog, Wookiee. This is wonderful.
Sorry about that.
Don't worry about it. Deep breaths, man. Hey, we're here. We're hanging out. You're just in the Xwing community. This is nothing but fun. Okay, so we were talking about Boba Fett suits. Yes. So there were how many? We were thinking 7?
He said that they had enough pieces that they probably had enough for between 5 and 7 suits, just because they needed extras of everything in case something broke on the set.
Right.
You don't want to stop filming. You want to just say, okay, grab this one.
Right. Somebody breaks a shoulder pad or whatever.
Yeah. And because the suits aren't designed to be comfortable or practical, then those kind of things happen on set all the time. So
yeah,
you sit down too hard and maybe something will fly off. You know?
That was going to be my question. So Boba Fett's armor is not exceptionally comfortable to wear, is it?
It's not uncomfortable though. There are worse ones. The Stormtrooper is probably a bit more uncomfortable than Boba Fett because he's got a lot of soft parts. That codpiece,
right? And the Boba Fett suit as well has quite a few more pieces than any of the other suits, right? Yeah, so it might be a little bit more movable.
I was thinking that someone like Darth Vader or the Stormtroopers would have more pieces, but according to Don and Nelson, they were saying that he had the most pieces. So when the first time I dressed up in the suit was not for the blue screen shoot. It was for a summit that they held at Skywalker Ranch. It was for promotion, and I didn't know at the time, but it was promotion for the re-release of the movies.
Ah, okay.
Kind of to get a new generation aware of the movies before they started thinking about what they're going to do next.
Right.
So the first time I wore a suit was for this summit, and Don B's knew that I was probably the most that he would
Sweaty
not get a
Boba Fett
no.
fan?
He would not get a no from me if I
Yeah.
if he said, "Would you like to?" He said, I can't promise you that you can wear it. You have to come along one lunchtime and try on the suit. If you don't fit that flight suit, which is it's a Swedish Air Force flight suit underneath everything.
Right.
If you don't
That's
fit
a no-go.
that, then we'll find you something else. So
terrifying moment.
I went down the very next lunchtime, and that zipper going up. Well, I tell everyone it was my Cinderella slipper moment. It was when God rays came through the ceiling. There was angels singing. I was.
So did you automatically start just perspiring just to try to get like a part of you into that jumpsuit? Just like
I was the opposite. I was trying to soak in some of the sweat from my heroes.
Oh man, how cool is that?
I was trying to be a sponge and soak it up.
And it's kind of funny too. It's hilarious and almost super honoring that you and Jeremy kind of had the same experience. You were just the guy that fit the suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was Jeremy, but he was the one that fit the suit. So I guess he's going to be Boba Fett.
Yeah.
That's super awesome.
Yeah. So it was funny meeting Jeremy because, we're exactly the same height.
Really?
Yeah. It was like we're proportionally more or less the same. It was a bit more slender.
That was going to be my question. Did you ever get to talk to him? Was he involved at all in the shooting? Did he ever talk to you and was like, this is how you have to act like that? Or
no, I didn't meet Jeremy for years and years and years. And whenever I would try to meet Jeremy, he would always say to the liaison, which happened to be the guy who runs the Boba Fett fan club, Aaron Proctor. He would say to Aaron, I've had lunch with Mark. We've had lunch together. Why does he want to meet me? And I said to Aaron, I think I would remember if I had lunch with Boba Fett. It's not something that would
probably
slip my mind. But I think he was getting me mixed up with Don.
I got you.
With beers. He must have had lunch with Don, probably at the ranch.
Right.
But I never met him until 2015.
Oh wow! Okay, so man, yeah, I'm glad you got to meet him within that time frame because we lost him recently.
Yeah, I got to meet him at the celebration. I went down especially to see him. And
gotcha.
We took some time out of his signing, and we had a little chat, and it was great. It was just like he's my hero. So.
How cool is that? And I love the fact that it really is kind of a shared character. I mean, there's the famous five, you guys have all been Boba. It seems like you and Daniel are kind of friends on Twitter. You guys have been tweetering back and forth. I'm not huge on the Twitter, but definitely an easy way to get a hold of people.
We live quite close to each other. He's like an hour's drive.
What?
Yeah, so I've
and you didn't get him down here for the stream?
He's always got something going on.
I'm sure.
He is a busy beaver. He always finds something to be doing, and whenever he says, "I'm going to pop up and see you," it's like I have to take it with a pinch of salt.
Right.
It might not happen because he's always got things going on. But we hang out quite a lot. We hang out every now and again.
I have a question from the chat.
Okay.
That I would like you to answer. Boom. Rob Sock wants to know, is that the screen used suit behind you?
No, I wish it was.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me keep one button off. I was telling you, we were talking about how many pieces there are. When I did that summit shoot, they had this big page of all the pieces, and as they put the pieces on, they would cross it off. And as they put them back into the box, they would cross it off. But it was a laundry list, because like spats, small things like spats, knee pads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the archiving at Lucasfilm has to be ridiculous. Like, even just a glove from that suit is like the Ark of the Covenant. Like, it's kept under wraps, under lock and key. It can't be touched because God knows if that went out on the secondary market, somebody could retire on that glove.
Yeah.
Just that glove alone.
It was it was better than visiting a museum, going to the archives.
It is a museum.
It is a museum, but better because it's all Star Wars, so,
right?
Or Lucasfilm, and so when I got to meet Don that first time, we got on really well. He was the one that donned me the you're a big squid head. Yes, I am. And he said,
Squidhead, by the way, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you at all. I just saw it in one of your interviews. Squidhead is a sweaty, by the way. It's just us, just Star Wars nerds.
Star Wars nerd, yeah.
Just big old sweaties. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So he said, if you ever want to come back, I was like, really? It's like, if you want to come back, if you've got if you've got friends in town, this is off limits. And he was giving me a free pass. And so I don't know how many times I went back, but I went back time and again. I took him up on his invite, and I went back. And it's just pouring over the little maquettes of monsters and stuff like that. Just amazing stuff to see.
Did they let you actually touch them?
Detonator, yeah, thermal detonator. I was like, oh my God, couldn't I just put it in my pocket? Oh.
You could, but you'd definitely be going to jail.
Yeah. But just even like seeing the large things like the tail of the Star Destroyer, which had the Falcon.
Right.
Just those huge. They're not miniatures; they're too big. But
speaking of you, I think you actually know Boba. He had something to say about that. I think he actually gave you kind of an in detail interview about what happened and how Slave One was actually able to be there in time. Do you mind if I run that clip real quick?
Run it. Yeah.
Just a moment ago, I'd been on the bridge of a Super Star Destroyer. No sooner had Lord Vader himself asked for our help capturing Han Solo than the Millennium Falcon buzzed right into Imperial sensors, and then just sort of vanished. Oh boy, you should have seen the tussle as all of us bounty hunters scrambled to our ships. They were zipping around like near-sighted Geonosians. But I knew exactly what Captain Solo was up to. The old Corellia magnetic piggyback maneuver. Wondering how I could have gotten the Slave One fired up, figured out which ship the Falcon was attached to, and then flown myself into the garbage hold without being spotted, all in such little time? It seems impossible, doesn't it? Well, okay. Here's how I did it. Looks like it's time to take out the trash. No disintegrations. The nerve.
The nerve. Can you believe that? The nerve. No disintegrate. Come on. So to anybody who doesn't know, that is Mark's show. It's awesome. Go check it out. He's on YouTube. He does a bunch of videos for it. It's called No Disintegrations. And don't you want to see Boba continued? Come on, man. They're awesome kind of like one-on-one interviews where Boba's talking. It's absolutely amazing. Just go check it out. No Disintegrations.
We are talking about season 2 because it's the Boba Fett fan club that is their series.
Mm-hmm.
And we are talking about doing a season 2, and it's going to be a bit bigger. There's going to be more than just Boba this time.
Nice.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited for it. It's awesome, and obviously you're connected with the Star Wars universe more than anybody here. I mean, we're all a bunch of fans, obviously, but Star Wars wasn't the beginning and the end for you. I mean, obviously you've worked at ILM, you've worked on so many movies. I mean, what's your favorite one that you've worked on so far?
Well, I have to be Star Wars.
Well, yeah.
Number 1.
Okay, number 2.
Number two. Maybe the Avengers, the first Avengers movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there was like 10 months of, for me, awesomeness. I just enjoyed working with Joss. It was fun just designing a lot of the stuff. Like the very first job was to design the car wash. And the car wash was what Joss called, he wanted a landing platform where Iron Man could land and just walk, and he gets desuited without having to miss a beat. And
the car. Okay. Yeah, I got you. I got you.
It's called the car wash.
Makes sense.
And so we designed it, and we presented, what we thought he'd like. The only thing he changed was the fact that at the end of the car wash, we had Iron Man stop and step out of his boots. And he's like, nope, I want him just to keep walking. Like, he doesn't even step out of his boots.
Yes, yeah.
They have to snap open or something, but I don't want him to stop at all. So that was the only change we had. But it was fun just designing those rings and all the arms and everything like that. And
because you do a lot of the previs, right?
Yeah. This is all previous. So we're on before production starts. And so before production starts, the budget is scrutinized.
Yeah.
They think we haven't started yet, so we can't be spending that much. But
conceptually, we could do this. Maybe.
Oh, I remember we had to, when we were working on the final battle, the original version of the final battle was like 50 minutes long. And it was like, okay, we have to try and get this down to 20 minutes somehow.
Yeah.
But there was tons of gags that were great and it just couldn't make it into the movie.
I know. You always wish, as fans, you could see that 12-hour long movie, though.
Yeah.
That's got it's got everything in there, the storyboards that never made it in, all the pre-conceptual stuff. You always want to see that. Was there anything in the A New Hope that didn't make it to the cutting room floor on the special?
I guess there was one thing. You see, when it comes to the special edition, I agree with some of the guys that aren't fans of it. There are some things that were done in the special edition that I don't think should be done. Like the whole Greedo and Han incident. I thought that was a rumor again, because I'll tell you for why. This is the part that did make it in. George called us into the theater. We had to watch the detention scene rescue, and in it, George, I don't know why, he was trying to make it less violent, I guess, but he wanted all the shots where you saw a stormtrooper or an Imperial officer being shot replaced by a camera or a sensor being blown up.
I do remember very well a lot of cameras being shot in the detention center.
There was.
Yeah.
But you take out all the people and replace them with cameras, it's it's like twice as many.
Yeah.
And so we went in the theater, we looked at it, and he said, "What do you think?" And everyone had the same opinion. It's like, it doesn't make sense. There are people there, and then there's no people there. It doesn't. You need to see. It doesn't work.
A lot of cameras got shot, though.
A lot of cameras got shot. Four cameras,
Yes.
But he agreed. He was like, "What was I thinking? I just wanted to see it. You're right. And he scrapped it. So I was only aware that they were going to make New Hope special edition. If I'd known they were going to make Empire and Jedi, I would have stayed around and would have been consequently in Jedi special edition as well.
Right.
But they were only going to make New Hope. Their reasoning for New Hope was that they were going to have prequels, so modern, state-of-the-art digital effects, probably even better digital effects for the second one, probably even better digital effects for the third one, optical effects for New Hope. So he wanted to bring New Hope up a bit.
I get what you're saying.
Drop.
Right.
So the things like the pink flames when the wire wings blow up and the train front, things like that I can understand. Oh, I understand he wants to correct that stuff. Because optically, when you pull the blue out, you lose the yellow or the flame and it becomes
pink. Right.
So there's challenges to what you can do with a blue screen with certain colors.
And there was the speeder too with the orange blob underneath it.
Yeah. So things like that, I thought if anyone has the right to say, I want to redo that, then it's George. I'm not going to argue with George.
Yeah, you can't argue with George.
George says, I want to change it. I say, certainly, sir.
Well, and that's the thing too. I think it's always interesting because George has always been, there's always been this kind of interesting flow with George. He's either super involved or he's not involved because he knows what's going to happen to him when he gets really involved. And I always kind of wondered with the special editions, was he just there with a fine tooth comb, really making sure everything, because I mean, he's revisiting it after 20 years now, and he's coming back with the intention of making it the way he wants to see it, you know? Was he in there just with you know?
I don't know, because we only ever got to meet with him when we had work to look at. So
right.
When it came to picking and choosing what he wanted to do, I was not privy to those meetings. That was probably just him and Rick McCallum and
right.
entourage of, I called them his yes men.
Yeah.
So everything he says was a great idea.
The Goonies.
Yeah, and to be honest, he did seem like he was a prisoner inside his bubble. And I remember when we were talking about, I snuck in a scene that I wasn't supposed to, but it ended up in a movie. I snuck in a scene of a dewback as an alternate version, and as soon as he saw something he wasn't expecting, he suddenly came alive, and we had this conversation.
Somebody who thinks for themselves?
It wasn't a guy who's just saying, "Oh yes, right. That's a great idea. Oh, he must hear that 24/7." And he was somebody saying, "Yeah, that's a great idea, but what about this? We could do this." And so we had this great conversation about it, and really broke the ice, because up until then, he was kind of shielded, like I said, in this bubble, and hard to communicate with, even when he was in the room.
It's hard to think about George that way.
Yeah.
It just seems like an odd way to think about George Lucas as somebody who's surrounded with people who are just like, yes, 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 because I feel like he would just call them out immediately.
I think though, because there was so much at stake with this.
Right.
Probably more at stake with the re-releases and the new movies than there were for the original trilogy, because the original trilogy, nobody knew what to expect. So he just blew everyone away.
Yeah.
But now the expectation levels were super astronomically high, not just from the fans, but from the studio. So I think that's why there was this entourage that you had to break away to get to talk to George.
Yeah. So
I was hoping to be working on shots of Xwings, of TIE fighters, Millennium Falcons, and John Knoll came in and said, all the spaceship shots, they're mine.
Oh no!
Every one of them, everyone. I don't know how to do creatures, so you do all the creatures, I'll do all the spaceships.
Well, hey, to be fair, man, I love all the creatures in Mos Eisley. When we get all those guys in, I think I have every single one of them from Mos Eisley Spaceport in here, because they were kind of revisited when the new toys came out for episode 1. I still have every single one of them. The dewbacks are so much better, because I think all he had was a stick, right? And a rubber mount, and he could just kind of move the head of the dewback, and that's all he could do with him.
One of those nodding dog things. This thing, large scale. And when we did the scene of he wanted the dewback in there. There were some stormtroopers in there with a question and a guy, and they wanted a stormtrooper dismounting. I said, how about if we have the dewback, sniffing the backpack of the stormtrooper, like have him just do something. How about we have the dewback looking at the droids as they're going in, they're shiny. And so it was fun just coming up with small things that weren't I didn't want them to draw attention to themselves. I didn't want it to turn. There was one shot that I did with the Ronto that all it was meant to be an establishing shot, a Ronto walking through in the background, and a couple of speeders going through. And I did the shot, it was finished as far as I was concerned, and I showed it in the dailies. And George became fixated on the fact that there was nobody leading this Ronto, whereas there was in other shots. And so within the space of 5 or 6 minutes, it ballooned up with this one idea, and another idea, and then it ended up this.
So you stuck some
really
Jawas
rough-
on his back.
I didn't. Believe me, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
My argument was, it's not a scene in itself. It's just an establishing shot. It's like, here we are in Mos Eisley, cut to the action. You know,
Right.
I'm a filmmaker. That's how it works. But I remember him saying, you know, oh, who's leading this one? So, you know, there's nobody in the plate. Can we put someone in the plate? I guess so. We've only got stormtroopers though. Do we have any Jawas? No, we don't. And all the yes men. Oh, we can make a Jawa.
Yeah, we can do Jawas. Sure. Yes, George. Yes, George. Yes, George.
You know, oh, okay. Yes, have a Jawa on the back. I thought, okay, a Jawa on the back. That's fine.
Right.
Now let's have 2 Jawas. You know, and George gets excited. So he is. When George gets excited, he's like a little kid.
Yeah.
And his imagination runs away with him. It end up 2 Jawas, end up 1 Jawa falls off the back, and
now we've got a speeder bike that's going to juke in front of the Ronto and all this different stuff.
Swinging around under this Ronto neck. Oh my God. I was like, really? So I went from being finished, you know, I thought I could cross this one off my list because I had a list of shots to do.
Right.
And I was working on, at any one time, I was working on 5 shots at once. I had 5 TDs I was feeding. And for each shot, I had to mark it to the nearest quarter hour I was working on that shot. Because every shot had its own budget. It was very weird the way they worked it. I ran out of my budget on the very first shot because there was too many cooks in the kitchen.
I don't mean to laugh at you. I'm sorry. It's just sounds.
There's too many cooks in the kitchen. It was that Dubak shot where the hero one they always show. Lambda shuttle taken off in the background.
Yeah.
Dubak, Stormtrooper on the back, another Dubak coming forward, and everybody, you know. I'm meant to be in charge of the animation, but you know, I'm just an animator at this stage. I wasn't an animation supervisor at that point. I had been on Casper, but on New Hope, I was just an animator, you know, creature animator, and like I said, there was so much at stake that they had everyone in dailies, and everyone was saying, "Oh, the foot should go up on that frame, and the hip should be higher."
It gets too.
Yeah.
There's no word for it.
It looks, to this day, it looks to me very stop motion-y because of all the prodding and pushing, and consequently, we ran out of budget, and this is the whole story in itself. But it ended up that the reins they were holding were floating beneath their hands. And they were like, we ran out of budget. I'm like, no. I will work I'll work free overtime.
Yeah.
But we have to correct this. That we
just give me credits for the pinball machine, and I will get this done.
It was free, the pinball machine. So. But I worked 3 hours just to get that fix made because they said they had a budget for everything, every shot. And
that kind of leads into something. There's an interesting question from Deep Dive in here. What's the most specific small detail George wanted changed that most people don't notice? And that kind of segues into another question. So if you have an answer for it, you know what it's going to be. So okay. So go ahead.
This is the small detail that probably no one will notice, but it was a big deal. They had to build what we called the digital pantyhose filter. And what that was, when George was in the desert and he was shooting all these stormtroopers, he wanted to, he didn't want it to be like 4K or 8K, you know, like we have now, where you saw the pieces of camera tape holding something together, or you saw a rivet or a screw, Phillips screwdriver head or something like that. So over the front of the camera, he stretched a pair of pantyhose, to kind of just blur everything, just kick it back a bit, just defocus it just slightly so that everything would be just that much more believable. It's like when you squint your eyes, things become more believable if you're like watching 3D or whatever it is.
Right.
Just knock back that detail and it becomes more believable. So because all of the new footage was so crisp, you know, that we had to build a filter for all the digital work to act like that pantyhose on the end
Oh
of the camera
no.
and knock back the clarity or the crispness of the detail of the film.
Makes sense.
I don't think anyone would appreciate that that's there, but it took a lot of people a lot of time to come up with that.
You're in the right place for people to appreciate that. I can tell you that much right now,
Okay.
for sure. But there is one question, and I don't know if a lot of people noticed it. Honestly, I didn't even notice it the first time I watched it. I don't even think I noticed it the third time I watched it. But something did happen with the armor in that hangar scene.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Well, this is if they had treated this like I don't know.
The only reason I bring it up is because it's kind of like the Jawa with the reins out of his hand kind of thing. It's like, well, you know what? It's fine.
I'll tell you why. It's because I told you I did that summit. Remember I told you I did the summit at the ranch? And I put the suits on for the first time?
Yes.
So I put the suits on for the first time. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. This is wrong. You got the skull on the wrong thing. He goes, well, we can't do that now. You just got to put it on.
Yep.
Guests are here. Do you not want to do it? I was like, forget it. I don't care that it's not on the wrong side. Just dress me up. So I did that summit with the shoulders, the bells on the wrong side, and I didn't know if they could just unvelcro them, but apparently they were attached. They couldn't swap them.
Okay.
And so I did that summit with it wrong, but it was just fun. That was probably the most fun of all the times wearing the suit, because you were wearing the suit. Everyone else was dressed in as characters. They recreated the cantina bar with dry ice and smoke and stuff, and the band were playing in the corner, and the music was loud, and you had to pretend to be Boba Fett for 4 hours, walking around this cantina Mos Eisley bar, and it's such a hard job. I really took a bullet to do that.
Poor thing. It's got to be rough.
Hard to pretend to be Boba Fett for 4 hours.
Real tough. Pretend to be. You were Boba Fett.
it was hard for them to get me to take a break. I think it took one break in 4 hours.
Yeah. Like, no, George, can we just keep this rolling? Can we just keep this going?
But long story short, it was such a success. They did a second summit. How would you be okay doing it again? Sign me up for another 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm dressed up again. These are wrong, but no one cares. It's not a shoot or anything. Then we come to the shoot. And the reason I got to do the shoot is because I was the guy that fit the suit, just like Jeremy. I've done these summits. There's a guy that already works here. He did that summit. He did 2 summits. You should get him. And so I turn up for the shoot, and it's the wrong side. But by this time, I know I didn't want them to not do the shoot. The same as I didn't want to not jump in the suit for the other time. So I'm not going to say, hey, I'm not going to put this suit on until somebody sorts this out.
Right.
I'm not going to say that.
Production, everybody halt. We got to fix this.
I'm not going to say that. I was like, okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to look on camera.
Right.
I don't know if it'll be a thing. I don't know if the cape might cover it up.
Like cover it. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know, and so we did the shoot, and it's plain. It's the plain yellow bell this side, and that's the side that's facing the camera.
Right.
And
you have something under the sleeve there, though, just to always make sure you remember, right?
It's just unique. It's if ever they release an action figure with the skull on that side, then I know who it is.
I want it.
They should. I think they should. This is New Hope Special Edition Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, and so that kind of plays into where I was going next. We've seen Boba over so many years. Man, Wookiee just loves to talk.
He's
I love that
outside.
dog. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. my little dog Obi-Wan, he's not little, he's a husky, but he does the same thing, and he always does it at the worst times. But you never know. There could be a Jawa on the other side of the fence. So, moving forward with Boba Fett, it's kind of cool because we got this unceremonious death, right, with the Sarlacc pit. Like, is that really the end of Boba Fett, the most dangerous man in the galaxy? And now we've got... Go ahead.
You know why that happened?
No.
You know?
No.
It's because post-Empire, George wasn't too happy. He wasn't too happy with how dark Empire was. He especially wasn't happy that this background character was becoming the most popular and sought after.
Yeah.
You know, everyone had their Luke Skywalker already, but everyone wanted Boba Fett, and Boba Fett was getting this time in the spotlight when his hero characters weren't. And so he made a executive decision of like, oh, I'm going to have to nix this character then. And, you know, I have to get rid of him. He's competing with my heroes, and he's an anti-hero, you know.
Wow. Okay, you know what? It kind of makes sense now, though, that he just got booped on the butt and went into the Sarlacc. It was like
too popular.
Really?
Too popular. Get rid of him.
Wow. Okay. So that happened. We lost him. Now he's back. He's back in full force. He has been, I don't want to say de-villainized, but in a way he has been. I think he's been made a little bit more relatable for everybody. In a way. What are your kind of hopes and dreams for Boba, being the Boba file that you are, Boba moving forward?
Well, the Boba that I always wanted to see in Jedi was the Boba that I saw in season 2, episode 6 of The Mandalorian. And that was the Boba I wanted to see in Jedi.
Yeah.
And so, you know, everything goes wrong with the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
You don't see Boba on his best day at all.
No, that was not a good day for Boba.
So all of my, you know, when I went to see Jedi, I mean, I was going into there just wondering, what's Boba going to do?
Yeah, when's he going to come back?
Everyone else was probably thinking, what's Luke going to do? I was going in thinking, what's Boba going to do next? You know, and I was glad to see him in Jabba's palace. I was like, oh, this is good. And then everything, or hell breaks loose around the Sarlacc pit, and I never get to see him. I never get to see why he has that reputation.
Right.
And so I loved episode 6 of both the seasons. Episode 6 of the first season showed why Mandalorians have that, reputation.
Right.
So it showed Mandalorians are as badass as they claim to be.
Yeah.
And then episode 6 of the second season is Boba turns up and with a gaffy stick, of which mine one's broken. I have to get a new gaffy stick.
Were you playing too hard with the gaffy?
I was doing some of those moves, you know.
You're playing in the backyard,
knocking toy figures.
Yeah, tree stumps and stuff over.
But Boba Fett with the gaffy stick, it just was. This is the Boba I wanted to see, and so I'm hoping that the Book of Boba Fett is a collection of all the stories that gave him his identity.
Right.
Please.
And that's something that they've said, right? Is that they're going to explore his life basically from Empire moving on.
I'm hoping it's before that. I'm hoping it's why he is the most feared bounty hunter in that lineup.
Right. Yeah. So there's
that Boba and says, no disintegrations. Why he gets him out of the group.
So interesting thought for me. What if in A New Hope, Boba was the guy that went to the Lars homestead and disintegrated?
Yeah. Which would be unfortunate because one of my first friends I made, the best thing about jumping in the suit and doing this is making friends of all my heroes.
Right.
but one of the first people I got to really meet and spend 3 days with in Newark, in New York, or just outside of New York, was Owen Lars. And I told him, Phil Brown, wasn't it? Phil Brown played Owen Lars. And I told Uncle Owen when I was with him in Newark doing my first ever con. This was. I told him. I said, did you know that at ILM everyone has a computer that follows them around? If you change desks, you take your computer, the monitor, the tower, everything with you wherever you get stationed. And my computer, all Star Wars names, and my computer was Lars. For the whole 2 years I was there, me and Lars.
The homestead.
Me and Lars kicked butt. We kicked butt on Casper. We kicked butt on New Hope.
That's awesome.
But that was my computer name, and so it would be unfortunate if that is true, because
you killed Lars.
Was one of my first friends I made within the acting cast.
Is there anything really particularly that you want to see in Book of Boba?
Yes, I'd love to see. I'd love to see some of the other characters like Dengar. I mean, IG-88, he's not so high on the list now because IG-11 showed us why IG-88 is such a badass.
IG-11 was awesome.
Yeah.
I was a fan of IG-11.
That first episode with that. Yeah. I would just sign me up from that point. The first episode, sign me up. Yeah, I'm on board. Because I was worried for a long time about how they was going to handle it. I really wanted them to handle it like a spaghetti western. It had that spaghetti western feel, especially the first scene. It was almost like the bar, the saloon doors. That circular door that
cuts the guy in half. You're like, yep, I'm in.
It's like saloon doors that bite back.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we see like maybe 4 long. See them in action.
Yeah.
See the relationship that he has with them. That's what I'm hoping.
So we got somebody asking, what's your favorite Boba scene of all time? I'm almost wondering, just because of what you said, if the gaffy stick was kind of a.
I think it was that reveal of Boba and he's standing over the trooper.
Right, in the Empire armor.
Or the knee darts. Oh.
The knee darts was so cool. That was such a win for nerds everywhere because we read about it in all the encyclopedias and we knew he had it, but we never got to see him use it.
Yeah, the knee darts. But I love that one where he's like dragging the gaffy stick along.
Yeah.
The big drag thing. Oh, there's so many good shots. So many.
If you weren't convinced we were nerds.
I waited so many years for just that. It must have been like in the span of 10 minutes. I got everything I'd waited decades for.
Yeah, we finally got to see Boba be Boba. Instead of just checking out the scene and knowing he was a hard ass, we got to see him be a hard ass. Yeah. I totally agree, man. Yeah, that was awesome. So, we're coming up on an hour. I don't want to take too much of your time. I appreciate you being here, man. This is huge. The community has been absolutely ballistic in the chat. I don't know if you've seen it, been going up and down and sideways.
I've tried to, but I've been mainly looking.
Yeah, it can be tough to try to juggle them.
I can always come back.
So I was going to ask you, so I'm not monetized as a YouTube channel. I'm just trying to, we're just building a nerd community right now. There will be a day, someday, when I'm monetized, and I will be holding charity streams. So if you ever want to come back for a charity stream, I would love that. I think that would be the coolest thing in the world. So if you're up for it, that'd be awesome. We've got contact information now. I know Boba Fett, not really a big deal, not a huge deal or whatever, but I kind of know Boba Fett. So thank you so much for coming on, man. We are so humbled. Like I said, we're just a community of sweaties, so it was so awesome to have you here. Do you have any parting words? Anything cool you want to? I mean, you're working at Netflix now, but you got some time off this week, or?
I have. We during the process of making a movie, you go through an iteration of screenings. The first one is just all storyboards, and then you kind of pepper in more previous work as you go along. Mm-hmm. And so we just finished screening 2, and I can tell you what we're working on because they announced it. It's Ultraman.
Okay, nice.
kind of like if you take Ultraman and you mix Ultraman with Spider-Verse, it's kind of like the movie.
Oh man, there's going to be a lot of nerds losing their mind about that one.
But because we managed to meet the deadline for the screening too, which was probably half the schedule of screening 1, and got it all done. They, as a big thank you, they gave us a week of pay.
I'll take it. I'll hop on YouTube and talk to some Star Wars nerds for a little bit. That's awesome, man. Well, like I said,
staycation at home.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I mean, dude, look, we appreciate it. We appreciate it a lot. Thank you for being here. Hang around for a little bit. Just after I close this off, we're going to have a second. And yeah, just keep being sweaty, guys. Don't forget to be nerdy. Stay positive. Love the Star Wars universe. Always look for the good. And we will see you guys on the next one, all right? Can we get one Boba Fett line before you go?
As you wish.
Hey.